ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another edition of Infection Podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on X at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, check out our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Joining me as he does each and every week from his new humble abode, Brian with an I, Aldridge. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much. Just doing all right here. If you want to find me on X, you can find me at Brian. Actually, that's at Boise Computer still. I can't find. I tried to get a Brian Aldridge, but there's some guy who loves going to cheer for his kids that has that name. Or if you want to get me at Boise Computer on all the other ones, that'll work. All right, Nick. So I've heard some concerning news that you were telling me. Something that I know that we have played together, and I didn't do nearly as well as you.
Well, you know, so Brian, here's the thing, and we've talked about this a lot on the show. Call of Duty is a franchise that I have been playing actively, less active in recent years, as you know, being an adult and having responsibilities and less time and not living with your parents and all the various wonders of growing up. Less time recently, but have been an active franchise player since Modern Warfare 2. I don't know if you can look up when that came out. The original Modern Warfare 2, I've been an active Call of Duty player since then. Purchased every game. 2009. Okay, so you're talking about 14 years, which is more than half of my life.
2 days, that'll be, its anniversary of having been released. So yeah,
so more than double the time I've been alive, I've been playing Call of Duty. So accurate to say that I'm a vested fan in the franchise. Last couple have been all right. Doesn't bring back and a part of this too is also the nostalgia factor, right? Everything is so much better when you played it in the past, and then you replay it and you're like, man, this thing's the hot garbage.
Believe me, I know that.
Yeah, I mean that's just the reality of it. Nevertheless, all to say, huge Call of Duty fan. So the new Call of Duty is coming out in 2 days. I've seen some of the commercials for it. And I actually had a cool opportunity earlier this week.
That's funny. They're releasing it on the anniversary of their. I wonder if they did that for all of them, or is there a reason? Because November 10th, 2009 was when they released Modern Warfare 2.
It's always around that time. It must just be the count. It's always that Friday, the second.
Maybe it just happened to land on.
Yeah,
the
it's
same
always
day.
that Friday, the second Friday of the month, or whatever it is. It's always Veterans Day weekend. That's always what it was. Which is a whole nother story.
Every 7 years it lands on the same day. Well, this is 14 years later, so that would be
then there you go. Look at this, a little math man Aldridge over here, the mathematician.
Sorry.
So I've seen a couple of the commercials. Commercials always look great, but this is the first time that I can ever remember having zero interest in a new Call of Duty. And this was codified by the fact I had a really cool opportunity this weekend. One of our fans, listeners of the show, USAF Zombie, made us a really cool logo a couple of years ago. And he's a pilot. He's got a small little aircraft that he flies around. He visited and dropped this thing off. And when we were chatting, I said, hey, I played a lot of these games with him, FPS. I said, hey, you buying the new Call of Duty? He goes, no, absolutely not. I'm done. The games they just don't look good anymore. And it really codified it for me. And then I caught this article over at Eurogamer today. Modern Warfare 3, that's the new COD that's coming out in 2 days. Players are not happy with its short campaign. I honestly preferred World War II's campaign, which I thought was atrocious, but nevertheless. And that one sucked. So that's the view from some of the individuals. Here's one individual. I played 1 hour of the campaign and got my refund, and I think you should too if you feel the same way. This was a complete lackluster raid episode out together. Having just finished COD Remastered recently, this game fails to capture what it means to be in a campaign. And if this is how it begins, then I'm sorry. Modern Warfare 3 does not redeem itself from the shit show Modern Warfare 2 caused at launch, and somehow continues to make fun of my wallet. I'll be holding off on touching this game until I see something positive coming back from this community. Another player slap in the face. I'm shocked and appalled. Another person saying the developers should be ashamed of themselves. You're completely destroying this franchise. And Brian, as much as I would sit here and say that I'm shocked, franchises run their courses. Just like television shows, Seinfeld, Friends, The Sopranos, Breaking Bad. I mean, all of these shows. The Office is a great example of a show that they should have ended that they didn't. And sometimes you gotta kill something while it's good. And I'm not indicating that Activision, now Microsoft, is going to kill Call of Duty. It is one of the most, I would argue, the most recognized successful video game franchise that's ever existed. And with that, I don't know what they do. I will still probably end up purchasing it. I would assume around probably between Thanksgiving and Christmas, somewhere in that ballpark. I might be able to get it for $50 versus $69, right? Because these games are $70 now. Maybe I can get it for $50. If that's the case, I'll probably pick it up and just screw around in the multiplayer a little bit. I haven't played a lot of the recent Call of Duty campaigns because I just don't think they're great. But I wonder if this franchise is just done. And it's run its course. It's a different time, and the game is just not able to capture what it was able to do what it was able to do a decade or so ago.
Well, I'm kind of curious what you think it might be that's causing people to not like the campaign so much. Is it the content because we've had ones where people are upset because, they kind of went woke and started having things that just didn't make sense. They had to throw female characters into World War II and, that weren't there. There were things like that happened. Like I wonder if it's the story. Is it the characters? Like, I'm wondering what it is about this that has made so many people unhappy about it.
Now, I haven't played it, and you know what they say about reading comments on the internet. But from reading comments on the internet and piling them all into one sandwich of reviews, apparently the combat is garbage. None of the missions. One of the posts I read something like, one or two of the missions really stood out and separated themselves, but the rest of it was just kind of lackluster, just kind of meh. Just the thing with the Call of Duty game is the multiplayer is very repetitive, and it's supposed to be repetitive. That's why that's why I enjoy it. I enjoy that repetition in the game. I know what I'm getting. I know how much time I have to
kind of hone your skill too doing that.
Sure. But when you play a campaign, you don't want repetition. You don't want the multiplayer can be very mundane. You're just running through the same freaking maps, playing team deathmatch, playing Dom, kill confirmed, whatever it might be, S&D. It can be monotonous, and that's okay. That's part of it. You don't want that in the campaign. The campaign is where these Call of Duty games can pull you in and bring you into something that is not possible in the campaign because you're playing with 12 or 16 or 20 some odd other people. And apparently this game just doesn't have any missions that really stand out. And that's causing a bunch of people to go out and get their refunds. That's at least what I'm reading. This is, there's always backlash for Call of Duty in recent short.
And the one I played the most was the
World War
II one.
Yeah.
And it was okay. But people told me that the other ones were a lot better. And there were just certain maps that I enjoyed on the World War II one. But overall, I think, from having a little bit of experience in previous ones, I enjoyed them more. Just the flow of the maps. There was something different. I think a lot of it was the weapons.
Sure.
When they started, I think there's a big variation, it seems like, between the weapons when they try to go old school. But we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if they eventually try to make this a game that's online, that's the same game that they keep upgrading, versus having these releases. Because if they get trashed on every single one of these releases, they'll probably want to switch to something else to be able to keep people playing the games.
So take this for what it's worth. It's an IGN review, but they gave it a 4 out of 10. Underbaked, rehearsed, and cobbled together from multiplayer parts. Modern Warfare 3's single-player campaign is everything a Call of Duty story mode shouldn't be.
So it's like they took the multiplayer maps and then tried to make the story fit those maps?
That or the other, but
ones?
I think that this rehashed word is, I think, what sticks out to me the most. And that it's just... Yeah. And here's the thing. I haven't been a recent Call of Duty campaign player. I really love the multiplayer. I like the mindless, being able to just completely disconnect from reality and run around and be mindless for a couple of hours. And obviously, if you're going to... But the problem is, if you're going to charge $70 for a freaking video game, you better have a damn good campaign. Even though a vast majority of the players are playing multiplayer, and apparently it's short, like 5-hour campaign. And that's pissing people off even more.
It's not really worth $70.
No, it's not worth $70 at all. If you're gonna make it, I'd be okay if they just made Call of Duty a multiplayer game. You don't have to give me a campaign if you don't want. But if you're gonna give me a campaign, you're gonna have to make it. It's gonna have to be worth. It's gonna have to be worth $70. And if it's not gonna be worth $70, then
I think they almost need to do that. I think they almost need to make it to where there's an online, ever-growing, kind of like Fortnite. If you make it equivalent to Fortnite online is one version. It keeps upgrading and changing itself and getting, improvements are put into it. And then, every once in a while, release a campaign that you charge a little bit less for that has some sort of story mode that you can kind of have go off of the content of the campaign or the multiplayer and using all the upgraded graphics and wherever you have that at. It seems like that would make more sense rather than having a new version, because you always split your player base. Every time you release one of these games, and then you have the online version of it, why not just add additional maps to your online version where everybody's still playing the same game? So you don't have half the people playing, or a quarter of the people playing World War II, a quarter of the people playing Modern Warfare 2. Now you got a quarter of the people playing Modern Warfare 3. It creates a problem for the player base, I think.
Well, and they're attempting to do that a little bit to launch Modern Warfare 3. Modern Warfare 2 has to launch, and from some of the other things I read, this game essentially was supposed to just be a big DLC pack for Modern Warfare 2, and then they decided, well, crap, I guess we'll just make it into a full game. So, this is I believe this is Sledgehammer. Who has had a checkered Call of Duty past in terms of their games that they've created. This is, I don't think this is going to be a good one for them at all.
All right. Well, here's the next thing I think that's going to really tank them, though, is there was a report out by Dextero that Call of Duty voice chat is going to get AI moderation to catch and punish toxic players. And, having sat in a number of lobbies and played with you on a number of Call of Duty games, this is going to be a problem. I mean, it'll change the whole experience, I think, of Call of Duty. There's a lot of people that trash talk and kind of that atmosphere is what people enjoy about it.
Sure.
And if you're going to take that out, like, it's going to totally change how people feel when they play this game. And then you're going to start banning people and possibly affecting their Microsoft accounts, their Xbox accounts, based on things that they say. Because, I mean, this is owned by Microsoft now. I would hate that something that's said in Call of Duty turns around and then affects, whether or not you have access to your Xbox account.
There's no place.
I'm surprised that they're going this far.
There's no place for disruptive behavior or harassment in games ever. Okay, well, then don't make a Call of Duty.
I mean,
shut up. That's the whole point.
I mean, that's part of what people.
I have been yelling obscenities.
They say tackling disruptive voice chat particularly has long been extraordinarily challenging across gaming. And that's the thing that AI is going to turn around and do is make it to where you feel like you can't really say anything. I mean, it's going to be like YouTube as far as how you can stream on YouTube and the things that you can say. So if someone wants to stream a video game on YouTube, they can't stream the lobby voice because if you could say a lot of things that aren't really that controversial and you get banned on YouTube. Well, how tuned is this thing going to be? You say something here, they're doing a full worldwide release in Modern Warfare 3 on November 10th, except for in Asia. So Asia's not getting it, but they're going to put the initial beta rollout of this voice chat moderation in this new Modern Warfare coming out in 2 days. Starts with English, and then other languages are going to follow. So
I get it.
Interested to see what people start saying.
I understand what their attempt is, but I think this goes to show you that they truly, and obviously, I'm not sitting here and advocating for full-on online harassment. But the part of Call of Duty, again, as somebody who has been playing these games for 14 freaking years, that's part of the game. The trash talking, the bickering, the obscene comments, the jokes about your family and your mother, that's just part of the game. Now, obviously, if they're combating, people, well, I'm not even going to say some of the things that are just kind of second nature when you play a Call of Duty game, KYS and things like that were yelled and screamed in lobbies. I don't know. It doesn't. Okay. Then just turn off voice chat. How about that? Just dump voice chat.
They do mention here, they said, since the launch of Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty's existing anti-toxicity moderation has restricted voice and or text chat for over 1 million accounts detected to have violated the Call of Duty Code of Conduct. And they said, while they say the new Tox mod will allow for trash talk and friendly banter, anything that exceeds that will not be tolerated. And so anything beyond trash talk or friendly banter. But I mean, that's a pretty generic term, trash talk.
Pretty nebulous term, yeah.
Yeah, so
we'll
have to see how strict it actually is.
So if I tell somebody to go jump off a bridge after the game, I mean, is that considered friendly trash talk, or am I making a threat against their lives?
I know, and is that going to get you banned from the game first, initially, and then how far can they take that ban?
Here's the great thing. I'm not going to be playing it, so who cares?
Yeah, well, we'll see. It'd be fun to see the comments. Maybe we'll see some more things from this. Because I'm sure you'll have a lot of people on YouTube or on X or Twitch complaining about this. So we'll see in 2 days how strict this actually is.
I'm curious to hear from our audience as well. I know we've got a lot of Call of Dutyers a lot of FPSers in our community. Drop us a message in our Discord server or leave a comment on our YouTube or Rumble video if you're getting it, if you're not getting it, and what the reason is for you. I'd be very curious to hear from folks.
All right. Well, hey, let's keep talking a little bit here about. Do you want to talk about Microsoft a little more or AI? I'll give you the choice.
Let's talk a little bit about Microsoft. We did some AI stuff last week.
Okay. So one thing that internal emails have been showing is Microsoft is looking at streaming their PC cloud games. Because right now, I think what they've had are the Xbox games that you could stream.
Yep.
And that's the Xbox Cloud Gaming. But they're going to be adding PC games with that. And it sounds like initially they were doing this as a response to Stadia. Stadia was going to do PC games. But this is something that during the whole FTC versus Microsoft case that became, known as that their plans are that, because Stadia was going to be a white label cloud gaming service and developers could run their games on it. This is something that Microsoft wants to do. One thing that for PC games, there are some PC games that aren't available on Xbox.
Yep.
So I do think this is a good idea. I think one of the biggest drawbacks, though, is modding, because that's a reason that some people really prefer playing on PC versus an Xbox, is because they can install mods, things that enhance the graphics, add content to a lot of games. This kind of takes that off the table, unless it's an officially modded somehow they can put mods through this, but I haven't really seen them do that
Well,
on any of their cloud games yet.
Well, the only way that they would, so this is kind of being handled by at least Bethesda with their mod marketplace, which is inside of the game.
Yes.
And that, that they originally brought that stuff in so that they could bring some of the modding to consoles, which has never had that ability. Yep. And I assume that we'll see more and more of that with other games going forward, because not only are you pulling in the streaming market and the console market, but you're opening that stuff up, and I think Bethesda's got it figured out. That's clearly the way to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we'll start to see, because there's some really cool mods out there that just console players don't get to see. There's the ones that add content, fix bugs. Just a lot of times, especially Bethesda, there's bugs in the games that they never address or fix. And modders will go in and fix those bugs so that, maybe a quest will work again, or it'll work how it's supposed to. They were planning on putting together a subscription plan of just Xbox Cloud Gaming, and it says that they scrapped that. I think that would have made sense with some of these cloud devices. We keep seeing these hints and we saw one earlier in the year of these Switch-like devices that can sit there and you can play games on them. That's the perfect thing for that type of subscription, where you don't even necessarily have to have an Xbox. Maybe you don't have a full PC to install the Xbox games that are on the subscription with, but you could stream games. I think that it would be smart to have one that's a lighter, well, maybe not lighter weight, but smaller cost of a subscription, where that all they're going to be doing is streaming the game content that you have. But maybe they'll be releasing that later with certain hardware announcements or something. But that's something that we haven't seen yet. And I think a lot of this has kind of been delayed. It seems like some of these things they talk about. I mean, they were supposed to do the family plan for Xbox, then having a version where
that still hasn't come out. Has it?
No, they closed it because it was like they then were saying it was a trial. They closed it all down, and then we haven't heard anything about it. So that's kind of frustrating for us, because I don't want to have 3 family subscriptions to allow 2 of my kids to play a game with me that's on the pass.
Yeah.
There's not really any other way to do it. I can't play a game that's on the Xbox Game Pass with my kids, because I can't be logged into 3 different Xboxes at the same time under my account. But I'm not going to pay, $400, $500 just to have the 3 Game Passes. So it's kind of a crazy situation.
Yeah, my Game Pass subscription lapsed a couple months ago, and I bought a game this week, not through Game Pass, just on the marketplace. It was like $15.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird that they seem to have gone silent with all that. They were talking about all these cool things they're going to be implementing, and then we haven't heard anything. So maybe they're waiting for announcement at some sort of a con or something. Maybe it's an announcement for the holidays. I don't know, but I haven't heard anything else.
I especially with family accounts and things of that nature, I think this stuff's a little bit more complicated than it might look on the face.
Yeah. Well, there's probably things, licensing, things that they've written in contracts with publishers that have items on their platform, where all of a sudden you're allowing 5 people to play your game when you're in that agreement. Maybe they were licensed for 1. Yeah, there could be a lot of things in the background that they are trying to avoid getting sued for. It could be something simple like that. So we'll see. But this is something, the streaming, I think, has a big future. This is something that they pushed for during the whole acquisition process. And was it Europe that really pushed back, saying, this is going to be anti-competitive for streaming? But I do think that cloud streaming is going to be a big thing of the future, and I think that they should try to get everything they can onto streaming, because it opens up the door to their whole Game Pass to such a much bigger audience, when you don't have to have a computer and you don't have to have an Xbox. Because Starfield, for example, the hardware to be able to run that, it's on the Game Pass. If you just need the subscription and then a lightweight device, just hook a controller up to some sort of a screen and then you can play. I mean, that's a pretty big deal when, the alternative is going and getting a $300, $400, $500 Xbox.
Yeah. No question about it.
So, yeah, we'll see where they go. One thing that they've been doing is they've released this new Xbox MasterCard so that you can earn points and then
Yeah.
you can redeem them on games. So you earn points for the Xbox card through game purchases, Netflix subscriptions, things like that. I thought it was kind of odd they partnered with MasterCard. I don't know, maybe MasterCard's trying to make a big comeback. I know one of my cards through my business, my business has switched to a MasterCard all of a sudden. So it sounds like they're really trying to compete with Visa, but they're going for the gamers market where you get, however many points for purchasing certain games. Each dollar generates card point, and 1,500 card points are equivalent to about a $15 gift card. So
Yeah.
every
So
$1,500, you get $15 back.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can use that for things like a Game Pass subscription and other things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's so funny about this, though? Completely unrelated. There's been something I've been following for a couple of months now. There's a bill that's going through Congress known as the Big Box Bill. And I don't know if you've heard anything about this, but it's a piece of legislation that would kill credit card companies' abilities to offer rewards. It would essentially get rid of reward programs, which the fact that government is doing that is enough to send me through the freaking roof. As if Congress has $33 trillion in debt, and they're worried about me getting freaking $15 worth of Microsoft points.
Yeah.
I guess maybe this isn't moving anywhere significantly. It seems like a thing that I would have assumed that they would have done a decade plus ago, like in 2010. Like it seems like such a weird time to bring something like this out. Like the Xbox name and the Xbox brand is not anywhere near as big and as strong as it was a decade or so ago. Yeah. That's not to say it's weak, but it's just not as, I don't even know what word to use to describe it. It's not as big as it was. Console gaming has become, I think, a little bit different, where you had folks that were really in one camp. I'm a PlayStation guy. I'm an Xbox guy. Now you've got much larger PC market share. Most people have both consoles, or at least one of the last generation PlayStation or Xbox and the recent generation Xbox or PlayStation. It's weird. I cannot imagine that this is going to have a huge group of people jumping on. I guess if you load up your credit cards, and you're using those.
Well, and the points really add up when you do it at specific places. So if you buy things from the Microsoft Store, they give you 5 points for every dollar. So it's a 5 times the amount of point accumulation for that. Or if you get something like on Netflix, for every dollar you spend on Netflix, streaming services, things like that, Disney Plus, you get 3 points for every dollar. Same thing with delivery services like DoorDash and Grubhub. For every dollar, you get 3 points for those. So they're trying to incentivize the things that they think gamers are more likely to use, which, would be probably streaming content, DoorDash delivery type of things.
Oh,
but I would rather have it on gas. That's the thing, is give me more points back on fuel, bills, something like that.
Well, Brian, hold on. I know that sounds great, but did you know that you can customize it with your gamer tag?
Oh, you can? If you put you can have it to where it's flashing, hey, look at me.
Yeah, XX 420 no scoper XX is gonna really be running up the gambit there, flipping out the Xbox card.
Well, you get 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for new Game Pass members when you get the card.
Yeah,
and you get a bonus $5,000 points, which is a $50 value, so $50 worth of points after your first purchase. So.
If you use credit cards a lot, and you're putting a lot of money on them, like for example, I don't know how many months it would take me to put $1,500 on a credit card. I just don't spend that kind of money or put that kind of money on a card. But if that's something that you're frequently doing, I guess maybe it makes sense. Just seems like a really weird time.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised because I haven't heard, first of all, the name MasterCard for a while.
Mm.
It seems like that's been kind of a quiet brand, and it was just odd that they partnered with Xbox. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely interesting.
So one thing I wanted to talk about here really quickly is there was an issue with Microsoft, and people have been saying about Microsoft that they're pretty negligent when it comes to security.
Oh, okay.
Some of this has to do with their Azure platform. Some of it has to do with the Windows patches that they've been doing. But first of all, Microsoft admitted its Azure platform had been breached by a Chinese hacker group called Storm 0558 here, and it took to they were talking about it here on LinkedIn. A lot of people were complaining on LinkedIn about these practices that kind of led to that. There was a letter sent to U.S. Senator Ron Wyden to the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, and the DOJ and the FTC recently, calling for Microsoft to answer for the lack of transparency and repeated pattern of negligent cybersecurity practices, which has enabled Chinese espionage against the United States government. So this is something where Microsoft products have accounted for an aggregate of 42.5% of all 0 days discovered since 2014. I don't know I can really hold that against them because Microsoft products are a big target. Microsoft Office,
when you're the whole
Microsoft Exchange, Azure, Windows, which is a huge portion of all operating systems for computers. There's when you're the big target, you're going to have people aiming at you, right?
Of course. When you own the market,
that's the way it
is. I mean, that's the reason that for so long you had Mac OS where there wasn't, Macs can't get viruses. No, they can. It's just that nobody bothered developing anything for them because the market share was so freaking small.
Yeah, they didn't want to waste their time trying to find something because the bigger the market share, if you can find a 0-day bug or let's say Microsoft Office or Outlook, even something to where you can send an email to a person's Outlook account, and when they just not even open the email or do anything really interacting with it, it can cause some code to launch on their computer. That can be sold for a lot of money because you just spam out an email and all of a sudden you've got bots or whatever you're trying to accomplish without people interacting. There's big money in a lot of these things, and these are things where here's a quote. Did Microsoft quickly fix the issue that could have effectively led to the breach of multiple customers' networks and services? Of course not. It took more than 90 days to implement a partial fix and only for new applications loaded in the service. 120 days later, when Uran's post goes up, those bank details remain exposed. And while Microsoft promises to fix the issue by September, Uran makes clear his feelings that a 4-month wait for a fix is grossly irresponsible, if not blatantly negligent. But this is, it's tough because they've got so many things that they're having to maintain. And part of that, they've created a lot of products. Having all these products is how they make their money. If they can't maintain them security wise, should they be trying to maintain so many products? I guess is what it really comes down to. You have all of Microsoft Office for multiple platforms. You then have Office 365, you have Azure, all these different things. It takes a big team. It's going to take a lot of money to maintain upkeeping the bugs. When a 0 day is encountered, having a team that can sit there and attack it right away to try to get it patched. Microsoft is a huge company, but this is a big part of it. And people are saying that they just don't take these things seriously enough, and they don't have teams ready to try to combat these, because it does take time to fix some of these things. But if there's something that's hugely affecting the internet, their services, like they need to get it patched or at least prevented, right? Maybe not fixed, but block it at least within 24 hours to 48 hours. And this guy was saying, 4 months later, and they finally patched some of these things. when people are stealing account information, stealing bank information with these various bugs. So my worry is the government, they're sending things to all these different organizations. As you said before, when the government steps in and says, let's fix this for you, it's usually never as good. The government generally doesn't fix anything. They usually cause more problems. And it just worries me that if Microsoft continues being like this, that the government's going to come in and say, we mandate this, or, you're required to do this. And what's Microsoft going to do differently? I mean, come up with a plan to say we're going to deal with certain, it's going to probably make them cut back, which maybe is what they need to do, slow down releases, take more time, because everything's kind of a running release right now. Remember back in the day, they had, first of all, Patch Tuesdays.
Oh, yes.
Once a month, there would be a big set of patches, and then, it would be a time thing. It seems like now things are just kind of happening, they're patching constantly. So that opens up to where any day of the week you can have, it used to be, you'd be like, okay, well, on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, I need to check to make sure everything's okay. Now, any day of the week at any hour, you could get a patch. So you can't really plan on this anymore. So,
well, and
we'll see
talking
where Microsoft goes with it.
You're talking about operating systems here, but I mean, I think you can broaden this out to the video game industry. I think this comes back to the erosion of testing. Where the public has become the testers. We've seen the whole early access genre, which I'll call it a genre, is just that. Now obviously there's a crowdfunding element of that in small studios that don't have the resources to build a full game. Yes, but a lot of that is that the public, the crowd, the audience has turned into the QA testers essentially. And in certain games, I think that's okay if you know what you're getting and you're getting in at a 50% discount, and that's part of the gig. All right. But even in some of these other titles, we talked about Call of Duty earlier. Those games, you've essentially become the QA testers for those as players. And when you spend $69.99 on a game, $73 after tax, it's kind of BS, Brian. I don't want to be the QA tester. Pay me or give me a discount on the game if I have to QA test it. And there's always going to be bugs.
Well, that's why I want a polished game. If I'm going to be paying full price, I want a polished game. If I'm going to be paying that half, discounted price, I can expect to have content changing, because the problem is there's some games that I only want to play once. I want to play through the campaign. I want to have the complete game, and I don't want to have it to where after I played through it, they then fixed everything. They added the rest of the content, kind of like what I felt like with Cyberpunk. That's really what happened with Cyberpunk. I played through the whole thing, and they're like, now it's fixed. Do I have to play through the whole thing again just to see all the new fixed and better content? Yes. Oh, yeah. I don't want, I want to see it, but I don't want to go through the whole thing again. And so I thought when I was buying Cyberpunk, I thought I was getting the whole game. I thought it was going to be polished. So I played through the whole thing. And it's kind of like what's that one? No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
People who played that day one, played a ton of hours in it early on. Now it's a totally different game, but that's a game you can sink a ton of hours into.
Yeah. Cyberpunk is probably one of the worst, if not the worst, modern example of this.
Yeah. And I'd love to play it, but I don't want to spend, 30, 40 hours playing through a campaign that's mostly what I've already played through, just to find the things that are different or better.
And pro tip, Don't Die is hanging out in our Twitch chat. Hey, hope all is well. No Man's Sky is amazing now. Yeah, and that's the case. I've heard that from so many people.
I played it partway through the fixes, but I've heard now it's even, even crazier good.
I really need to. I've only played like 4 hours of Starfield. I really need to start devoting some more time to video game. Man, there's just so much craziness going on. I just need to turn off my phone for a couple of hours, ignore what's going on.
I haven't really played any games since we moved. I mean, it's just been,
I've played
got
any games
the Xbox
in 3 years
set up. Welcome to adulthood.
Yeah, man, it sucks.
Time for games.
I just, you know what? I want to hop back in my time machine. I want to go back to being in high school, living at home.
And when you're 15, just starting the podcast.
Mother would do my laundry. Would there be dinner on the table every night? No cares in the world. The biggest concern was your Call of Duty KD or somebody yelling some obscenities at you on Xbox Live. Brian, take me back.
Well, that's why I keep telling our oldest son. We tell him, you want to be a grown up, but you've got the rest of your life to work. Right now, you have time to just kind of enjoy yourself, have less stress, just enjoy being young, because you'll get old enough and then it never stops.
Well, but to be fair, I also do like indulging in some adult activities as well. That you got 15, you can't go out and get hammered at 2:00 in the afternoon because you work at
there's some
work
people
at 10 a.m.
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
No, yeah, it's definitely frowned upon.
I don't want my son doing that.
No, and I'm not indicating your son should do that, but there are the pros and the cons. It's like sit home and play No Man's Sky or Starfield or whatever for an hour and a half. Or visit the local watering hole, Brian. I mean, these are the tough decisions of a modern man, Brian. And I need.
Well, you're now in your mid-20s, right?
Yeah, I'm 20. I'll be 27 next year.
27. So you've kind of passed. Early 20s was still that transition period. Because I remember early 20s, I was still going and hanging out with friends, and you just were always at somebody's house all the time, always doing something. And then as you're coming to the stage where that kind of will probably stop or dwindle off.
Well, I don't have any friends, and then that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. But your early 20s is you're going out and hanging out with people, and just nobody's really married. No one has any major things that they're tied to. And so everybody's hanging out. But then people start getting married off. People start having kids. And then, a whole nother transition to a different type of time. So you're in for that.
Yeah, well, tell you what, once that all happens, I'll have plenty of time for Starfield and No Man's Sky.
Yeah, I know. All your friends are married. There's no one who wants to hang out anymore except for maybe once every 3 months.
Yeah, I'll have plenty of time for video gaming.
You're like, this is perfect. I want to get old now.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. I enjoy being able to go out Thursday night and Friday night and Saturday night and doing all of those fun activities.
Okay, I want to mention one more thing here.
Sure.
So there's an upcoming feature for Windows 11, which is going to let you switch to a cloud PC. Because this is something that I remember 20 years ago they were hinting at. It's something to where you can click a button and it will switch you over to a cloud-based Windows 365 cloud PC installation.
Why?
So that you could. Well, I mean, you gotta come up with these ideas in your own head of what you could possibly use a little cloud computer for.
What the hell? Why would I pay for an Azure subscription for a cloud PC when I could just do all of this stuff on my normal desktop? I mean, I guess if you're on a laptop and you're running intensive applications, maybe you'd run those in the cloud. I guess maybe.
Well, okay, maybe. Okay, so here's how I see as far as business. There's systems where I have to, I've had clients where I've had to pretty much remote into a system to be able to do work in their environment. If this can make that really easy, clean, and simple, where it's fast, that would be one thing. But this is more of like a lightweight computer that you're switching to, where maybe it's a safe browsing environment where you don't have to worry about viruses. I mean, it's kind of like a sandboxed browsing environment where you could do things that maybe you can say erase after I'm done. I mean, maybe for people like our friend Ross hanging out.
Can I get this on my phone so I can visit some websites on my phone in my secure boot environment? No, I mean, so the whole thing is you're going to be connecting to an Azure Windows VM. Like, so it's not remote desktop. It's the same. You're just connecting to another desktop. Again, the only use case I can think is you're on a low-powered machine and you're running an intensive application that's doing data in the background that you'd want to do in the cloud so it doesn't kill your battery.
Yeah, one thing it says, they say here that this Microsoft 365 switch is what they're calling it, could be especially beneficial for users who participate in a bring your own device programs through work. So an employee can host a company-owned cloud PC on their own desktop or computer notebook and switch between the environment as needed. Currently, the cloud-based Windows 365 is only available for corporate users.
That doesn't make any sense.
Kind of an odd.
Read the beginning of it again.
All right. So this is beneficial for clients who are people who participate in a bring your own device programs through work. So when you bring your own
Okay.
laptop to work,
So you bring your own,
and then that way you can
laptop.
employee can host a company owned cloud PC on their desktop. So the company can have a cloud PC that you use for all work things. So your emails in there, your Microsoft Office is in there. So you can have your own device that has all your own customizations and whatever you're storing on your computer, and then you tab into a work environment.
Okay.
So that they can have all their security stuff all in place and the restrictions, but it doesn't affect your
But
actual
see,
desktop. Citrix. Otherwise, you have to use things like Citrix and all these other.
But I thought the whole thing
services.
of bring your own device is that you wanted to use your own device. If you're going to just be remoting into their cloud VM anyway, then just let them give you one of their devices, right? That doesn't seem to make any sense.
Yeah, it kind of takes away the point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe switching back and forth, but I mean, hey, I'm sure there's some companies that think this is a great idea. I mean, the technology behind it seems pretty cool. I just can't explain any single use case that I can. I mean, Brian, you spent plenty of time in the IT world. I spent a couple years in commercial IT. I can't think of a single instance where this would help anybody and not just be a huge pain in the ass.
I mean, my only thing would be maybe for a dev environment where there's certain tools and systems that I need access to.
But you're already doing that, Brian. If you're a dev, you already have a dev environment through VMbox or something else. You're not going to be paying.
Well, that's
to
what I'm
use
saying.
Microsoft's
that way they have
Azure
one all
volume.
pre-made. That one they can have pre-made.
Maybe.
They pay for the Azure license, right? And then they just have their environment as an image that they can roll out to you.
We're cutting costs. You have to cover your own Azure instance. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You'll end up paying for this.
Thank you for working here.
Yeah, exactly. Huh. All right.
So that's something I saw. I haven't seen. It's in the dev preview part right now, but it'll be interesting to see where that actually.
It's so funny. I would argue that 90% of the features that are offered through 365 that businesses have access to, they don't use. And this is just going to be another one of those features. I mean, it's amazing how much they offer in 365 and how little any of them are used, because most of them are obscure and just don't make sense.
Maybe David offers this is a place where you can go and browse at work without it being shown up on our systems. That'd be one thing.
But that doesn't make sense, because you're going to be remoting.
But that's not what they're offering.
No, because you're going to be remoting into your work's Azure instance. You don't have your personal own Azure and 365 account. Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's one that they're going to be able to see. So we got
to go. We got to move on from this. I could spend the next hour discussing Microsoft and their just stupid things that they do.
What else? Well, here's one that I didn't expect to see here. Yes, or actually today is when it came out.
Okay.
Have you ever listened to Zero Punctuation?
I have no idea what that is.
Zero Punctuation. He does game reviews. You should pull up a video so you can hear just a little clip of. Maybe you'll recognize his voice. But he's been doing these game reviews for 16 years. And the thing is, he talks fast when he does it. That's what they call it, Zero Punctuation, because he's kind of a really rapid fire in the way he talks and does these reviews. And they do some animations.
Is that him?
Yeah, by Escapist.
Okay.
Yeah, play one of those really quick so you can kind of hear who this is. He started in 2007.
Okay. Soup is the best food for when you're sad.
Is this the right guy?
If you cry and your tears get into the soup.
Hold on.
5 years ago.
No, I don't think so.
It's still in early access and has.
This isn't
This
him.
is not the guy. Okay. Well, he's got there's a whole bunch of videos. I don't know. Okay. So what's going on?
So they're actually ending
when
it.
YouTube started demonetizing basically any usage of fudge, I really thought I could cope. I thought the method.
Okay, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, I know who that is.
So you've heard it.
Didn't know the name.
So
but
they're
yes,
ending that. They're ending that after 16 years because one of the people that worked there was let go, and so the whole staff pretty much resigned, and so they're ending the whole thing.
See,
here we go.
Hey,
here's
Brian. They're not unionized, and it worked.
Yeah. Yep. They all work together.
Yeah, there you go.
So this guy, he goes by Yahtzee, but here today, he says, today I formally resign from the Escapist and Gamers. I don't have the rights to Zero Punctuation, but whatever happens, you'll be hearing my voice again soon in a new place. So a lot of people were pretty upset. They fired their video manager, Nick Calendra. And then I guess the people just weren't happy about that. And they announced, because I guess when that voice goes, because he's zero punctuation. I mean, you can't just throw somebody else in there and really have it be anything similar. So, but his voice kind of goes with him. It's kind of like the whole, what was it? It's now OMG. What was it called before? The ones that did the investigations and the secret, hidden cameras. And then
Chris
they
Hansen?
No. OMG.
I don't know what that is either.
Hold on. It's the guy. You know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't know who you're talking about, but the whole thing is when a brand is built around a person. I kind of deal with this in my industry a little bit as well. I mean, it's like you have a radio show and it's a person. You can try and put somebody else in the time slot, talk about the same issues, but that's not why you're listening. You listen to Mark Levin to hear Mark Levin, right? You listen to Sean Hannity.
You could keep the name and switch it out, but
you can still call it the Sean Hannity Show and put some other guy in there. It's not the Sean Hannity Show anymore. It doesn't make any sense.
But yeah, so I mean, this is something to where he could walk over somewhere else. I don't know how much they could get after him for trying to do the same cadence.
Yeah, there's no way that they own the brand name. There's no way they own the style of video. There's 0% chance they have a trademark on that. Can't trademark that.
Yeah. So, I mean, as long as he didn't sign anything crazy to kind of take that back.
Non-competes can do it to you. I'm sure he doesn't have one, though.
Yeah.
That's more of a traditional media thing.
So, we'll see. But this was one I was very surprised today to see that they ended that, because he did a pretty good job of doing a lot of these reviews, the whole Escapist team. So.
We've got an update. We covered a couple of weeks ago how Ubisoft was one of the only companies that reported really good quarterly results, and they were the only ones bucking the trend of the struggling video game industry under Joe Biden's economy. And what do I have here this afternoon? Wrong show. Ubisoft sees layoffs across its VFX and IT teams, and the game firm reorganization move resulted in 124 redundancies within the company. They laid a bunch of people off. There's no question about it. When you've got a company the size of Ubisoft and you've got studios literally littered, I don't mean that in a negative way, but spread out all over the world, you're going to have a whole crap ton of redundancy. And part of dealing with costs and dealing with measures is restructuring and figuring out where you can consolidate. And that's what they're doing.
Yep. Yeah, and this is something we've been seeing. I mean, every week I keep kind of gathering the statistics of the layoffs and the restructurings and the downsizings of all these different teams that are linked to video games. And it's constantly happening.
Yeah, this is what they say. Over the past few months, every team within Ubisoft has been exploring ways to streamline our operations and enhance our collective efficiency so that we are better positioned for long-term or success in the long term, aka being able to survive through a likely recession. These are not decisions taken lightly, and we are providing comprehensive support for our colleagues who will be leaving Ubisoft during this transition. We also want to share our utmost gratitude and respect for their many contributions to the company. This restructuring does not affect our production team. So again, this is VFX and IT, and IT is one of the things that I say it's easy, but it is relatively easy to consolidate. You can get rid of in-person IT guys and have a contractor or one person that is somewhat helpful that can take on those responsibilities. That's been happening in the IT.
Yeah, the remote hands that are pretty much there just connecting things when they need to be.
And that's been that's been a big trend over the last decade or so is consolidating IT, because you don't necessarily need as many people there in person. And with the remote tools that are available now, the clients that you can pre-install on devices and automatically gain access and run patches and updates
Azure
and
Cloud
Scripts.
Instance.
No, not the Azure Cloud instance, like Kaseya and some of these other softwares. It makes it a whole lot easier. No, No, that doesn't make any sense.
All right, we won't do Azure.
No,
There's a company that we were talking about the last couple of weeks, Embracer. Well, they're
Embracer
doing
Group,
a restructure as well, because we've been talking about a lot of companies that have been hit and downsized that are under Embracer, but the COO is leaving amid restructuring to form a new company. And so this is one where these sub companies of Embracer Group have been just being hit hard, and now this guy's leaving as well to go work for another company and start a new studio somewhere, or try to. He's going to be. He says he departs after 4 years to lead Strunk Games, wherever that is, and so that'll be a new studio that who knows if they'll even put out a game, because that seems to be a new thing. These guys seem to leave these studios and they say, I'm going to do something bigger and better, and then they never actually release a game. He says, although the last year has been rough in line with general market changes and industry consolidation, I'm positive that Embracer will come out stronger with a long, bright future ahead of them. So this company's definitely been hit pretty hard. They had that deal where they was supposed to be a $2 billion that collapsed. And then after that, they had to reduce debt after that. And then this is part of that restructuring. So they restructured by laying off people at Crystal Dynamics, Gearbox, Beamdog, Zen Studios, Digic, and then most recently Cryptic Studios. And then they closed that Campfire Cabal that we talked about, and the Saints Row developer Volition. Definitely not. Company's not doing well, but as you said in there, they're preparing for a recession. I mean, everybody says a recession is coming or a recession has started, according to some people.
Mm-hmm.
These guys know that think it's been bad up to this point. It's only going to get worse. Things aren't instantly going to turn around, and everybody's expecting it to get much worse. So these companies are preparing for that.
That's exactly what it would seem like. All right, Brian. Got anything quick, or are we out of here?
No. One thing I'll mention this.
Sure.
The day before, you remember that one where it was delayed,
yes.
and they were going to have to change the name because of a calendaring app and all this. Well, they have done a big announcement, put out a new trailer, and they said it's delayed again. So it's now delayed till December 7th. And it's going to only launch in early access on Steam. And they haven't mentioned a console release date. So they keep on kind of pulling back and changing things. Was it the day after? I thought they couldn't have the day before.
I have no
What was the
freaking
name
idea.
before? I thought they had to change their name. And okay, the developer also confirmed it won its trademark dispute over the day before name.
Yay!
So the calendar app that nobody really used that had that name.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
big confusion between a zombie survival post-apocalyptic game and some stupid iPhone app. I mean, real close ties and connections there. People, the audience, of the public would be real confused.
All right. Well, I just wanted to mention that. So if you're hoping for that to be released finally, you're going to have to wait another month.
Excellent.
We'll see if it gets delayed again. So,
all
right. Well, if you want to find me,
I'm not asking you to put a recommendation. I'm not asking you to put something in the book, but I can almost guarantee you December 7th doesn't happen.
Okay. Well,
don't put it in the book. We'll just keep a friendly bet. We'll keep a friendly bet on it. There's not a chance in hell.
So
Brian, you're talking
7th
30 days
release date. I know. Well, at least they don't have to worry about console anymore. They took that off the table. So
great. Set 5 years too late. Phenomenal. I'm flying out of the seat of my pants here to play. My enthusiasm
we'll see.
Cannot be matched.
No PlayStation 5, no Xbox Series S or X. If you want to find me on X, you can find me at Boise Computer. If you want to find me on GabGetter, Truth Social, or any of those other places, at Brian Aldridge. Or, of course, you can go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. The easiest way would be to go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, go to the upper right-hand side and join our server on Discord, where there's a direct place in there where you can contact Nick or I, or maybe you want to submit some links to the show news channel. That's a perfect way to get your input on the show. Or if you want to play some ARC, we got 11 ARC servers running and politics channels, and you can choose which one you want to be a part of when you join. If you want to watch the live show, you can do that through Twitch or YouTube, or watch the upload after the fact on Rumble, or maybe go to the lower right-hand side and listen to the podcast version. So if we've already recorded and uploaded it, it'll be there. And that means that also the show notes for that particular episode are ready to go. And you can click on that and either use the built-in video and audio player there, or just follow along with the show notes, because there's links to all the different topics that we discuss, all the things that we're referring to throughout the show. We'll have links to those right there so that you can follow along, or maybe see a video that we mentioned or that we played on the video form that you couldn't see. You can go watch it after the fact. If you want to support the show, you can do the support menu option up top, or you can go to infectionpodcast.com/support.
Yes, sirree. Brian, as always, greatly appreciated. We're going to work on getting back on our regular schedule in the next couple weeks. Things should be dying down for me and for Brian as well. So stay tuned to our Discord server for that. And, of course, the podcast is always up there, so you can check that out on Twitch and or YouTube and Rumble and all your favorite pod catchers. All right, Brian, thanks as always, my man. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Alrighty, folks, you can check out my daily antics. It's called Wilmington's Morning News, and it runs dark and early, 6 to 9 a.m. every morning. There's a podcast of that available as well. You can find details on my website, nickcraig.com. If you missed any portion of today's show, maybe want to check out some show notes, sign up for that cool Xbox MasterCard. I know you're jonesing for it. You can head on over to our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.